You're replacing jobs that people could have as little people. Okay. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, it's for dwarfs, you know?
Snow White recently became a scandal in Hollywood, and Rachel Zegler is at the heart of everything, according to circulating rumors since the beginning of 2023 that started making the rounds on industry websites, and Zegler allegedly advocated inside forums. Disney will no longer use actual dwarf actors in CGI's advantage while negotiating a substantially larger payday for her in the back. Whispers scenes imply that this wasn't merely an imaginative choice, it was a calculating power move.
Because right now there's more dwarves on this podcast than there are in the new Snow White movie. And that's probably due to Peter Dinklage.
Yep.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
And rumor has it that she wasn't by herself. Zegler convinced the game of Peter Dinklage, a star and heir to, openly denounce the usage of dwarves, figures who are allegedly urging him to categorize the roles as cliched, and offensive. Insiders assert that their discussions took place in the early casting phases that take place long before the movie was made public, and that Zegler had established herself as a voice for creativity behind the scenes, even if newbie.
Isn't this the one where they actually took the dwarves out of the Seven Dwarfs?
Yes,
Yep.
We have CGI Dwarfs now.
Okay, yeah, because little people didn't need jobs either.
As Peter Dinklage wanted the whole field to himself. Went out there and was
kicked the
like,
ladder down
this
behind
is
him."
insulting,
Yeah.
unless it's me.
He kicked the ladder.
Yeah, he
The
got his
ladder.
money in Hollywood, and now he's like,
Oh,
don't
nicely
hire
done,
anyone else.
Smug. The ladder.
That was nicely done.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, he got his money acting as a little person. Now he's saying it's demeaning for them to have those roles. He acted as a dwarf on like the most popular show on TV for 10 years, made millions of dollars. Now he's like, how dare people hire dwarves to act as dwarfs? It's ridiculous. He got his money and then kicked the ladder down behind him.
According to some insiders, she even and Dinklage were in constant contact before his renowned interview, the one that shocked the Disney industry and made executives reconsider their. Overnight, the time increased. Some people are speculating that Zegler had planned the time to set off public uproar.
You're still telling the story of Snow White,
yeah.
and Seven Dwarfs.
Sure.
So, look, take a step back and look at what you're doing, but you're still making that fucking backward story of seven dwarves living in a cave. What the are you doing, man? If you tell the story of Snow White, it's the most fucked up, cool, progressive spin on it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
All in.
Based on whispers from within the show, this wasn't merely a innovative approach, it was a strategy by pressuring Disney to remove. Zegler does not play the usual dwarf roles, not only changed the story of the movie, but additionally made space for her own personality. To increase one source of central focus, claimed that in addition to playing Snow White, she changed the entire plot to revolve around her. This audacious action was purportedly planned by Zegler would consider herself to be among the most aggressive power struggles behind the scenes. Disney has recently made a calculated change in creative control and casting. According to certain insiders, rewrote the whole course of the movie.
Here's my issue. My issue with everything Peter Dinklage has said with this whole situation about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and the remake coming. It's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It's not Snow White and the seven normal-sized humans like every other movie.
Fans are furious at what transpired next. Soon after Dink's widely shared criticism, Disney subtly declared that it would not extended ensemble of minor characters in the famous roles, swapping out the Seven Dwarfs for a blend of CGI and fantastical animals. The announcement lacked clarity and was ambiguous. or justification, but to those who are paying. Focus. The message was obvious. Digital casting replaced traditional casting. There was fantasy in...
And this is also giving 7 dwarves, people, real-life people, actors, a chance to star in a movie, in a role that is fit for them, literally fit for them.
This change not only sparked indignation, but also prompted further in-depth inquiries regarding. Critics of portrayal and authenticity said that by taking actual actors out of, Disney was deleting decades from the equation of performers' cultural recognition, with dwarfism masquerading as updating the story.
The issue at hand is, by saying this, he's doing something worse for the dwarf and the little people community. He's trying to take roles away. It really blows my mind. The whole woke thing, you're going too far, in my opinion. It's too far. It's too much. You're trying to change something that doesn't need to be changed. There was nothing wrong with how dwarves were portrayed. He had no issue, absolutely no issue, being cast as a dwarf in Elf when he was representing that whole situation. That paycheck cleared just fine. When he was in Game of Thrones, he had absolutely no issue in that role when it was casted for a dwarf. That paycheck cleared just fine. Now this all of a sudden is crazy? This needs to be changed for current culture? Come on now.
The choice, but according to reports, it did more than spark discussion. Purportedly made it possible for Zegler to renegotiate her agreement and obtain a significantly larger check, according to several insiders. The reorganization made her character to be revised with a larger screen, additional solo scenes hardening over time, her as the undisputed focal point of the behind-the-scenes footage of the move. By many, such as I see, a cascading impact. By a well-planned PR dispute that results in, to a total revamp of the movies, concentration, and a far larger reward for the main actress.
I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess. I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
A lot think that this action cost actual actors their. Internet indignation after being shot at a blockbuster broke out, with detractors accusing Zlu of concealing oneself behind woke messaging while denying chances for. One popular post featuring underrepresented performers indicates that she didn't struggle for acceptance, but deleted it in the interim while Peter Dinklage's fans are asking questions about involvement. Was he expressing the views of the community or unintentionally contributing to? Some fans conjecture about Disney's PR approach, that Zegler made use of her rising power to use Steinage as a spokesperson, being aware that his remarks would be taken seriously.
But it's this weird thing where he's saying, like, oh, it's bad that we're still doing Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, so he doesn't necessarily want that. But as little people actors, it's like, well, we kind of want to work. We kind of want that part, and if that's what's available, then that's what we'd like to do.
Neither Disney and Zegler have not directly discussed the more profound rumors, but between the mounting backlash is shaken by the casting and behind-the-scenes whispers. Manipulation in this fairy tale reimagining is not going to be magical at all, and the repercussions are now being felt more difficult than anyone anticipated, since just as anger over the casting dispute strike another bombshell at the boiling point, dropped from within the studio this time. Disney is enraged, and there, Rachel Zegler was forced to pay the price after a collision and fire occurred in the Snow White remake. Insiders at the box office in what whispers a $250 million catastrophe from behind closed doors are receiving. Louder executives do more than merely point fingers that they are purportedly requesting. Yes, Rachel does repay a portion of it. At one point, the actress was praised as the future of Disney might now be able to legally, and the brand was penalized financially. Harm that she is said to have caused.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There is a big focus on her love story, with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
So no Prince or a different kind of Prince?
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie, right. Andrew Burnap, great dude. It's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows?
However, this is more than simply drama. Rachel's lure and corporate warfare may initially be the first casualty, had everything necessary to become a blockbuster. Live-action version of a well-known Disney classic with a budget and a new young lead. Enough to fund a little country. There were quite high expectations, but what the world was a snowy, cinematic implosion. Why did White hardly scrape $43 million domestically combined? When paired with foreign numbers, at well about $90 million it stalled. First week, a poor performance for a movie that took more than $250 million to produce. Market, but the actual surprise wasn't the numbers, it was the speed with which Disney activated their own star, according to some. Monday after opening, insiders. The weekend wasn't going as planned at a high-level executive meeting at Disney HQ. Evolved into a business showdown one. An executive reportedly slammed their fist, shouting on the table. She said in less than a year, $1 billion brand. She was paid to do it for the other people in the room. Apparently gave a nod of assent, which, when the alleged shift in the conversation, from annoyance to retaliation, executives started looking into contracts, PR obligation clauses, and even possible. To put it simply, morals violations are. We're trying to figure out how to make Rachel Zegler pay was the beginning of it all. The interviews rather than advertising them. Rachel attacked the movie, labeling the original Snow White, making eerie fun of the prince is being accused of stalking and claiming the film has to be fixed. These comments, even though they could have been meant to represent a contemporary viewpoint that was landed with a thud and provoked a strong reaction from the most devoted Disney fans. What was intended to sound empowering instead came off as offensive, and even haughty crowds weren't merely angry. They felt deceived as if their child was being made fun of by the studio. Hoods and changing the past to gain influence. Not only was Snow White a fictional character, but she was the first Disney princess too. The studio's fairy tale cornerstone. For millions, she represents an empire. Simplified storytelling era that is connected to traditions from childhood and timeless wonder. And Rachel didn't only pose a task. She chuckled at that legacy. During the manufacturing process, a real blaze that some on the set interpreted it as a message that the endeavor was doomed from the beginning. According to insiders, the setting behind the camera was as disorganized as what creatively unfolded before it. Executives' disagreements erupted. Numerous rewrites and producers turned into the standard as public criticism began, impacting ultimate choices. What was intended to be a sleek, contemporary revision of a well-loved classic gradually devolved into a disjointed, expensive mess of the budget. Surged from $170 million to maybe $270 million, and after the turmoil subsided, the camera's vision started to shift. Early screenings, according to reports, executives started after receiving negative comments, doubting anything, especially the choice to recreate Snow White in the top spot after the interviews. Hashtags on social media went viral, like #NotMin and #BoycottSnowWhite. Fan edits ridiculed the days-long white fad. Rachel's face was altered in a Photoshop. Sarcastic vintage cartoon scenes. Memes were all over the captions, and they were more than just jokes. Weapons amid an increasing backlash in culture. Online discussion boards exploded with posts analyzing each remark Zegler made. Some users started creating timelines and tracking her interviews in addition to the box office forecasts and contrasting them with other unsuccessful reboots. The tone changed from mock fury but terrible individuals weren't merely amused, they were furious. The fan base felt disrespected and extremely upset. Not only Rachel's voice, but also Disney's whole strategy was an A. They said that the remake was a rejection of custom as a betrayal of youth. Fans of the memory claimed they weren't against. They were opposed to arrogance by modern notions, passed off as advancement, and to them, that's precisely what this movie had become into a first production message that forgot its heart as the box office figures remained unimpressed. Speculations began to circulate concerning Rachel's future according to reports, certain producers in Hollywood declared her radioactive out of fear that including her in a project would result in dispute rather than Disney's opinions. According to reports, contracts are being surreptitiously discussed. Next projects with Slur apparently discarded one. According to an insider, she was anticipated to become the next major Disney star. They will no longer even mention her name in meetups. There are more than one. Snow White is either a one-flop or actress it into a case study, an emblem of how out-of-touch choices made, priorities as well as an unresponsive audience. Awareness has the power to destroy a franchise that once appeared invincible rather than joyous. Legacy was humiliated by the remake, ignoring the simplicity and charm. It made the first one famous and swapping it out with forceful messages that resembled a lecture more than a narrative rather than embracing fans. It drove them away, alienating the very viewers who helped Disney become a well-known brand over generations. Numerous longtime supporters felt ignored and even made fun of for desiring the timeless story they came up with rather than creating a new empire. It's possible that Disney just destroyed its own castle by relying on ideas instead of. They took a chance on a vision by telling a story. It failed to connect, and the outcome was a breathtaking collapse that might the studio to reevaluate everything regarding its future remake strategy. This wasn't only an error, it was the first wake-up call that Hollywood, and Disney in particular, cannot afford to ignore. Time will tell whether she rebrands, go away for a while, and in silence she may rebuild by taking on smaller indie projects, avoid conducting interviews, and seek to win back the confidence of the public by allowing her art to do the talking, or she could vigorously defend her decisions and risk additional negative reaction by adopting the scandal in an effort to attracting interest and locating a new audience that backs up her unrepentant positions. However, it is currently evident that the enchantment of fairy tales has faded. Her name has vanished around her, and what is still a well-known person who was caught between rejection and reinvention. The entire world is observing her every action, and this, when the enchanted forest isn't there to conceal, has collapsed in the castle, and the princess, she may be left alone. If you wish to hear more outrageous tales from behind the Hollywood scenarios with no one interested deeper than we do, strike on the drama that subscribe button and activate alerts to ensure you don't miss anything. Has opinions about Snow White fallout. Did Rachel receive unjust treatment, or did she bring this on herself? And share your thoughts, the remarks below, and we'll talk to you in the following one.